Hello and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to have a look at a new cue card, Part 2 Speaking in IELTS, that is used this season. The topic is describe a long car journey you went on. And here you have some bullet points. You should say where you went, what you did there, who you went there with, why you went there by car. So for your information, just for your information, you actually don't have to cover all of these points. In speaking, there is no task achievement or there is no task response. All you need is to talk about a long car journey you went on, or just maybe a car journey you went on. So yes, you can. This is just a plan for you, and this is something that you can use in your answer. Now, a good idea here is to use some parts of a car. For your lexical resource, most likely these will be less common or uncommon lexical items. All right, so please have a look at these parts of a car, and you can pause the video and have a look. Okay, and there are some more parts. Please pause the video and have a look at them as well. Okay, so it would be a nice strategy when you describe this journey by car. You can say that you were traveling by car and then your car broke down, and mention some parts of a car that broke down and how you were solving these problems and what you felt. So you can also use some advanced lexical items when you do that. This plot, this story, can be also reused when you talk about other part 2 topics. So it can be part of your story that you were traveling somewhere and your car broke down. Okay, so the parts of a car that I'm going to mention in my story are clutch, brake, acceleration pedal. So you can imagine what kind of a lemon this car was that I'm going to describe, because everything broke down. Then gearbox. If you speak Russian, since most of my students are Russian, if you speak Russian, you can also see translations on the right. So gearbox, windscreen, you say that in British English, or windshield, that's American English, and things that clean them, this windscreen or windshield, are called windscreen wipers or windshield wipers. Then there is rear view mirror, if you want to see what's going on. If you're a driver and you want to see what's going on behind you. Then you could mention that the windscreen wipers could barely move or could hardly move, okay, something like this. Then you could say that they held on by a hair or by a thread. It means they were not constructed properly, or that they were held together with spit, or they held on spit and baling wire, or they were just made anyhow. Okay, when you were trying to solve something, you can call this quick and dirty solution, or you could say there's a band-aid solution. Right? Then also, if the car was not in a very good condition, the car that you were traveling on was not in a very good state, you could say that the car was on its last legs, or it was breathing its last. Okay, so some other parts of a car and some other expressions. That's gloves box. This is where you put your gloves, maybe, or a newspaper or something small. Then trunk, country road. A lemon, this is what you call a car that is not in a very good condition. Then, for example, before you started traveling by this car, maybe you were kind of worried. And there is a good word for this, trepidation. You could say, my heart was in my mouth and I was full of trepidation when I could see that the whole car was nothing more than a lemon. Okay, something like this. So when the car broke down, you could also say it started acting up or playing up. It means the engine wasn't working very properly. And finally, it gave up the ghost, right? You can also use this idiom when the car broke down. And we found ourselves in the middle of nowhere. That's also another collocation. Then this car also needed an overhaul. And a good word is a loaner. This is when you borrowed this car for a while and you had no choice but to travel by this car, then you can, this is a loaner, a borrowed car. Okay, so these are some lexical items, and I will try to produce a monologue on this topic, a long car journey. Okay, so I've been asked to describe a situation when I was traveling by a vehicle, um, and, and the story I can't help telling you about is my trip from St. Petersburg by Novgorod by car. And this car actually broke down in the middle um, of this trip. Actually, I would hesitate to call it a car. It was, in fact, a pile of junk. So not only did it have problems with clutch and acceleration pedal, but also the windscreen wiper was out of order. Even the gloves box wouldn't get locked properly. So it must have been around a fortnight ago, and having been asked by a friend of mine to come and see him in Novgorod, I thought about driving up to Novgorod, but unfortunately, I was having my car serviced at the time, and I had to ask for a loaner. So having borrowed an old banger from a friend of mine at the last minute for a trip that I had been planning for some time to Novgorod, my heart was in my mouth and I was full of trepidation because I could see full well that the car was a lemon. You know, hardly had we left the city when the car broke down and we found ourselves in the middle of nowhere. So actually, we couldn't have driven more than 50 miles before the engine started playing up or acting up, and finally it gave up the ghost with a stentorian sound. Luckily, another friend of mine who was traveling with me had been a car mechanic in his youth. So little did I know that one car could have so many problems at the same time. Had my friend not been there, I seriously doubt whether I would have been able to fix it by myself, and I would definitely have had to have a mechanic give it a complete overhaul. When I asked my friend if he knew what the problem was, he looked at me and said that the whole car was the problem and that it should have been towed to scrap heap years ago. It wouldn't start for all the money in the world, you know. Um, Finally, we were lucky in our misfortune that he was able to come up with a quick and dirty solution to the problem so that we could get to our destination without having to call for a tow truck by using a phone-in service. Thus, we arrived at our destination in Novgorod safe and sound. It took us very long. We were happy, albeit exhausted. All right, so that's the story. I hope you enjoyed it. Please put your likes, thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you still haven't, and join my online IELTS preparation course.